I'm Sharon Krigler, and it is my pleasure to be your host in the Speaker's Corner of the IFGT. We hope you'll visit our special corner often to enjoy listening to people from all walks of life, sharing their thoughts and answering questions regarding the ongoing transformation of consciousness. Geffrey von Gerlach is a life coach and acupuncturist with a private practice in Phoenix, Arizona. He received his master's in Oriental Medicine from the Phoenix Institute of Herbal Medicine and Acupuncture. He believes that imbalances in the mind-body connection are often the origin of illness and coaches clients on how to change their thinking and behavior to allow for personal growth and healing. Geffrey completed training in the mystery schools at the Philosophical Research Society and also holds degrees in fine art. He is the author of Ghost Points, an intriguing story of a once celebrated photographer who, by the use of acupuncture and the legendary 13 ghost points, is allowed to retrieve the memories locked in his mind and relive the passions and triumphs of his forgotten but remarkable life. The remarkable Geffrey von Gerlach. Welcome.
Thank you, Sharon.
I'm so glad you could be here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Geffrey, we all know that the only constant is really change. Now, why is change so uncomfortable for us, and what can we do about it?
Well, there are many reasons why change is uncomfortable. Oftentimes, change feels like loss for many of us. And change is often a result of we're uncomfortable because life didn't go as planned. We had a certain set idea of the way things were going to be in our life, and it just didn't happen. Also, we will oftentimes find change uncomfortable because it's associated with choices that we made that we're sorry for or that didn't work out they were supposed to. So we're sort of grieving the loss of what should have been.
Well, how can the nostalgia that we all have all the time and sentimentality hold us back from letting go of these ideas that no longer serve us and propel us forward?
Well, nostalgia is a trap. We get sort of caught up in hanging on to parts of our lives in the same way that we drag around cases of books that we had when we were in college that we're never going to read again, old clothing that's 2 sizes too small, because what they actually do is they represent times in our lives when we had a wonderful, hopeful view of the future, or they made us feel content in our choices, like I had mentioned a moment ago, that we made the right choice, that we had the right result. These things represent, they're sort of little talismans that we carry around. The problem with nostalgia is that the objects that we're dragging around are infused with intense emotions. There's a connection to them that evokes emotions of the hopeful future or the excitement of the time that the objects were new. So people will have their house filled with huge collections of this sort of thing that's of relatively little value, and no one else would see the value in them at all. But the problem is if we get too attached and the intensity to this bittersweet, poignant connection is too strong, it keeps us from moving forward, and we will sort of remain kind of bogged in the past. We'll relive our past over and over again and self-identify as that, the old cheerleader, the old football player. We can't let go of that identity and move into the new world where we belong.
Life is certainly plan B, isn't it?
And C and D, I'm afraid.
How do you know when it's time to let go of that special relationship, or quit your job, or let go of the dream?
Well, we need to let go in our lives when the outpicturing of what is no longer serves us. It no longer will give us the feelings and the result that we require. Letting go is a difficult process for people. It's very very common these days to say, oh, just let go, just move on, just get on with your life, all these kinds of things. But it's easier said than done, and that advice is very flippantly given, but we need to, one of the ways that we need to think of letting go is everything that's been created is in actual physical form, has been thought, felt, and then actually sort of brought into physical form and is made. So you have to think it, feel it, and do it. And so when you're letting go of something, you have to kind of do those steps in reverse. Normally in the letting go process, you have to sort of undo it, unthink it, and unfeel it. So when we're in a job, for instance, where we have no future, we don't see the job as a vehicle taking us anywhere. We're in a relationship where the feelings are gone. There's what I like to refer to as a zombie life, where somebody is living out a repetitive life, enduring responsibility, but not fulfilling their desire nature on really any important level. And you look at what's attached to that, where you're stuck. Are you stuck in the emotional aspect of it, the idea of what happened to you, or were you just lost your job because you weren't performing well, or because somebody else, your boss wanted to give the job to his brother-in-law? So there's a very real process there of letting go that you can look at the dynamics of and where you are in that life of that letting go process.
We automatically feel like if our relationship is gone or we've lost a job, that somehow we failed. Mm-hmm. I mean, when does it become failure, or we just decide to let it go?
Mm-hmm. Part of that is a cultural question, and I would venture to say for Americans it's very difficult to just let go, even though that's one of our sort of mantras these days. It's just sort of just let it go, that people will say that and move on. Or it's part of the Nike just do it advertising philosophy that we can just make something happen or just move on. But the failure for Americans is very difficult. We don't have a lot of experience in the sense of our culture failing. We haven't been through wars and things that some other countries have. And it's very much a country, and I don't mean this judgmentally in any way, based on winners. We have to be the winner. And the t-shirt that says the person coming in second is the first loser is very much indicative of what this kind of trap we've built for ourselves. We must win at all costs. We have business agreements that are win-win situations. Well, years ago that used to just be called a negotiation, and everybody sort of came out the way they came out, and the better negotiator you were, the better you did. But now everybody has to sort of win-win, and I'm okay, you're okay, and all that. In reality, there are times in our lives where it's not okay to keep a form alive, and we just have to learn when that is and let go. And we do that by looking at these attachments to where we are in the process on the mental plane, the emotional plane, and the physical plane of letting go. When is something dying for us? It's part of the death process.
We have learned, especially esotericists, that words have power, thoughts have power. How do words affect our prejudgment of failing, such as I've been married, my ex-husband is, my marriage failed, or I'm a survivor of this or that or the other thing. How do those words promote or promulgate that problem?
Well, first of all, as a life coach, I would say to you, your marriage didn't fail. You had the experience of a marriage.
Which one? Oh.
Well, I will use, I'm a practitioner of Oriental Medicine, and I will use a sort of a medical example first. When I'm working with my patients, I'll often sort of admonish people for referring to themselves as, say, for instance, a breast cancer survivor. And I'll say, so what? And they will get very offended and very sort of drawn back. But my point is not to diminish them, but to remind them that as long as they're associated with the word cancer, and that's being used as a reference to themselves as a being, they're still attached to the disease and they're still invested in it. So we have to understand that our brain is programmed to respond to words that have the highest charge on them, the strongest emotional charge. So for instance, when you say a breast cancer survivor, I guarantee you survivor is not the word that has the strongest charge. Cancer is. In fact, we call it the C word because we don't even need to use the whole word in order to evoke the feelings of fear that are associated with it. So in other areas, using designations like ex-wife or ex-husband would also be questionable because the wife and husband are the strongest charge in those designations, and so you want to let go of that. Particularly if you want to remarry someone else or you want to move on, you need to let go of that person holding that position or that frequency in your life, or it is impossible for it to be filled by anyone else.
Thank you so very much for being here today, Geffrey, and I hope we can see you again soon.
Well, thank you, Sharon. You will indeed. Thank you.